Hi, I'm Desmond. I'm a cat, if you didn't know that already. And see, my owner decided to let me tell the story today. And I've got a story for you. And while I tell that story, I'm going to go zoomies. So here we are tonight at SL Tonight. I'm Desmond. And my host, my owner, is Felix Lebeski. And tonight's story is called Strange Memories of Death. This is why the owner decided to let me do the hosting tonight, because this story's a little dark. And, well, I'm a cat. Everybody loves cats. So, here we go. I woke up this morning and felt the chill of October in the apartment, as if the seasons understood the calendar. What had I dreamed? Vain thoughts of a woman I had loved. Something depressed me. I took a mental audit. Everything was, in fact, fine. This would be a good month, but I felt the chill. Oh Christ, I thought. Today is the day they evict the Lysol lady. Nobody likes the Lysol lady. She's insane. No one has ever heard her say a word, and she won't look at you. Sometimes when you're descending the stairs, she's coming up, and she turns wordlessly around and retreats and uses the elevator instead. Everybody can smell the Lysol she uses. Magical horrors contaminate her apartment. Apparently she uses Lysol. God damn. As I fix coffee, I think. Maybe the owners have already evicted her. At dawn, while I slept, while I was having a vain dreams about a woman who I loved who dumped me? Of course. I was dreaming about the hateful Lysol lady and the authorities coming to her door at 5 a.m. New owners are a huge firm of real estate developers. They'd do it at dawn. The Lysol lady hides in her apartment and knows that October is here. October 1st is here, and they are going to bust in and throw her and her stuff out in the street. Now, is she going to speak? I imagine her pressed against the wall in silence. However, it is not as simple as that. Al Newcomb, the sales representative of South Orange Investments, has told me that the Lysol lady wants legal aid. This is bad news because it screws up her doing everything for her. She's crazy, but not crazy enough. If it could be proved that she did not understand the situation, a team from Orange County Mental Health could come in as her advocates and explain to South Orange Investments that you cannot legally evict a person with diminished capacity. Why the hell did she get it together to go to legal aid? The time is 9 a.m. I can go downstairs to the sales office and ask Al Newcomb if they've evicted the Lysol lady yet, or if she's in her apartment, hiding in silence, waiting. They are evicting her because the building, made up of 56 units, has been converted to condominiums. Virtually everyone has moved since we were all legally notified 4 months ago. You have 120 days to leave or buy your apartment, and South Orange Investments will pay $200 of your moving costs. This is the law. You also have the first refusal rights of your rental unit. I am buying mine. I am staying for $52,000. I get to be around when they evict the Lysol lady who's crazy and doesn't have $52,000. Now I wish I had moved. Going downstairs to the newspaper vending machine, I buy today's Los Angeles Times. A girl who shot up a schoolyard of children because she didn't like Mondays is pleading guilty. She will soon get probation. She took a gun and shot school children because, in effect, she had nothing else to do. Well, today is Monday. She is in effect in court on a Monday, the day she hates. Is there no limit to madness? I wonder about myself. First of all, I doubt if my apartment is worth $52,000. I'm staying because I'm afraid, both afraid to move, afraid of something new, of change, and because I'm lazy. No, that isn't it. I like this building, and I live near friends and near stores that mean something to me. I've been here 3.5 years. It is a good, solid building with security gates and deadbolt locks. I have two cats, I, and and they like the closed patio. They can go outside and be safe from dogs. See, that's the other reason my owner wanted to tell this story. Yeah. Probably as I am thought of as the cat man. So everyone has moved out, but the Lysol lady and the cat man stay on. What bothers me is that I know that the only thing separating me from the Lysol lady, who's crazy, is the money in my savings account. Money is the official seal of sanity. The Lysol lady perhaps is afraid to move. She is like me. She just wants to stay where she has stayed for several years, doing what she has been doing. She uses laundry machines a lot, washing and spin drying her clothes again and again. This is where I encounter her. I am coming into the laundry room, and she is there at the machines to be sure no one steals her clothes. Why won't she look at you, keeping her face turned away? What purpose is served? I sense hate. She hates every other human being. But now consider her situation. Those she hates are going to close in on her. What fear she must feel. She gazes about in her apartment, waiting for the knock on the door. She watches the clock and understands. To the north of us, in Los Angeles, the conversion of rental units to condominiums has been effectively blocked by the city council. Those who rent want out. This is a great victory, but it does not help the Lysol lady. This is Orange County. Money rules. The very poor live to the east of me. The Mexicans and their borrow. Sometimes when our security gates open to admit cars, the Chicano women run in with baskets of dirty laundry. They want to use their machines, having none of their own. The people who lived here in the building resented this. When you have even a little money, money enough to live in a modern, full of security, all electric building, you resent a great deal. Well, I have to find out if the Lysol lady's been evicted yet. There's no way to tell by looking at her window. The drapes are always shut. So I go downstairs to the sales office to see Al. However, Al is not there. The office is locked. Then I remember that Al flew to Sacramento on the weekend to get some crucial legal papers that the state lost. He hasn't returned. If the Lysol lady wasn't crazy, I could knock on her door and talk to her. I could find out that way. But this is precisely the locus of the tragedy. Any knock will frighten her. This is her condition. This is the illness itself. So I stand by the fountain that the developers have constructed, and I admire the planter boxes of flowers which have been brought in. They have really made the building look good. It formerly looked like a prison. Now it has become a garden. The developers have put a great deal of money into painting and landscaping. In fact, rebuilding the whole entrance, water and flowers and French doors, and the Lysol lady silent in her apartment, waiting for the knock. Perhaps I could tape the note to the Lysol lady's door. You could read, "Madam, I am sympathetic to your position and would like to assist you. If you wish me to assist you, I live upstairs in apartment C1." How would I sign it? Fellow loony, maybe? Fellow loony with $52,000 who is here legally, whereas you are in the eyes of the law a squatter as of midnight last night, although the day before it was much your apartment as mine is mine. I go back upstairs to my apartment with the idea of writing a letter to the woman I once loved and last night dreamed about. All sorts of phrases pass through my mind. I will recreate the vanished relationship with one letter. Such is the power of my words. What crap. She's gone forever. I don't even have her current address. Laboriously, I could track her down through mutual friends and then say, "What? My darling, I have finally come to my senses. I realize the full extent of my indebtedness to you. Considering the short time we were together, you did more for me than anyone else in my life. It is evident to me that I have made a disastrous error. Could we have dinner together?" Aren't I cute? As I repeat this hyperbole line, the thought comes to me that it would be horrible but funny if I wrote that letter and then, by mistake or design, taped it to Lysol Lady's door. How could she react? Jesus Christ, it would kill her or cure her. Meanwhile, it would write my departed loved one, "Definir Ganovos," as follows. And I totally butchered the shit out of that. "Madam, you are totally nuts. Everyone within miles is aware of it. Your problem is of your own making. Ship up, shape out, or get your own act together. Borrow some money, hire a better lawyer, buy a gun, shoot up a schoolyard. If I can assist you, I live in apartment C1. Wow, that's a hell of a jump. Maybe the flight is late, so lady is funny, and I am too depressed by the coming of autumn to realize it. Maybe there will be some good mail today, after all. Yesterday was a mail holiday. I will get 2 days of mail today. That will cheer me up. What, in fact, is going on is that I am feeling sorry for myself. Today is Monday, and like that girl in court pleading guilty, I hate Mondays. And there's another cat that hates Mondays. Really relevant here. That's interesting. That's interesting indeed, isn't it? Isn't it? Look at me roll. Look at me. I'm a cute cat. Hee hee. Brenda Spencer pleaded guilty to the charge of shooting 11 people, two of whom died. She is 17 years old, small and very pretty, with red hair. She wears glasses. She wears glasses and looks like a child, like one of those she shot. The thought enters my mind that perhaps the Lysol lady has a gun in her apartment, a thought that should have come to me a long time ago. Perhaps South Orange Investments thought of it. Perhaps this is why Al Newcomb's office is locked up today. He's not in Sacramento, but in hiding. Although, of course, he could be in hiding in Sacramento, accomplishing two things at once. As an excellent therapist I once knew made the point that in almost all cases of criminal psychotic acting out, there was an easier alternative that the disturbed person overlooked. Brenda Spencer, for instance, could have walked to the local supermarket, bought a carton of chocolate milk instead of shooting 11 people, most of them children. The psychotic person actually chooses the more difficult path. He forces his way uphill. Stupid. He forces his way uphill. It is not true that he takes the line of least resistance, but he thinks that he does. There precisely lies his error. The basis of psychosis, in a nutshell, is a chronic inability to see the easy way out. All the behavior, all that constitutes psychotic activity and the psychotic lifestyle stems from this perceptual flaw. Sitting in isolation and silence in her antiseptic apartment, waiting for the inexorable knock on the door, the Lysol lady has contrived to put herself in the most difficult circumstances possible. What was easy was made hard. What was hard was transmuted finally into the impossible, and there the psychotic lifestyle ends. When the impossible closes in, and there are no options at all, even difficult ones. That is the rest of the definition of psychosis. At the end, there lies a dead end. And at that point, the psychotic person freezes. If you have ever seen it happen, well, it is an amazing sight. The person congeals like a motor that has seized. It occurs suddenly. One moment, the person is in motion, the pistons going up and down frantically, and then it's an inert block. That is because the path has run out for that person, the path that he probably got onto years before. It is kinetic death. Place there is none. St. Augustine wrote, we go backward and forward, and there is no place. And then cessation comes, and there is only place. The spot where the Lysol lady had trapped herself was her own apartment, but it was no longer her own apartment. She had found a place at which to psychologically die, and then South Orange Investments had taken it away from her. They had robbed her of her own grave. Dark. What I cannot get out of my mind is the notion that my fate is tied to that of the Lysol lady. A fiscal entry in the computer at Mutual Savings divides us, and it's a mythical division. It is real only so long as people such as South Orange Investments, specifically South Orange Investments, are willing to agree that it is real. It seems to me to be nothing more than a social convention, such as wearing matching socks. In another way, it's like the value of gold. The value of gold is what people agree on, which is like a game played by children. Let's agree that that tree is third base. Suppose my television is at work because my friends and I agreed that it worked. We could sit before a blank screen forever that way. In that case, it could be said that the Lysol lady's failure lay in not having entered into a compact with the rest of us, a consensus. Underlying everything else, there is this unwritten contract to which the Lysol lady is not a party. But I am amazed to think that the failure to enter into an agreement palpable, childish, and irrational leads inevitably to kinetic death, to total stoppage of the organism. Argued this way, one could say that the Lysol lady had failed to be a child. She was too adult. She couldn't or wouldn't play a game. The element which had taken over her life was the element of the grim. She never smiled. No one had ever seen her do anything but glower in vague and undirected way. Perhaps then she played a grimmer game rather than no game. Perhaps her game was one of combat, in which case she now had what she wanted, even though she was losing. It was at least a situation she understood. South Orange Investments had entered the Lysol lady's world. Perhaps being a squatter rather than a tenant was satisfying to her. Maybe we all secretly will at everything that happens to us. In that case, does the psychotic person will his own ultimate kinetic death, his own dead end path? Does he play to lose? I didn't see Al Newcomb that day, but I did see him the next day. He had returned from Sacramento and opened up his office. Is the woman in B-15 still there? I asked him, or did you evict her? Miss Archer? Newcomb said, oh, the other morning she moved out. She's gone. Santa Ana Housing Authority found her a place over in Bristol. He leaned back in his swivel chair and crossed his legs. His slacks, as always, were sharply creased. She went to them a couple weeks ago. An apartment she can afford? I said. They picked up the bill. They're paying her rent. She talked them into it. She's a hardship case. Christ, I said. I wish someone would pay my rent. You're not paying rent, Newcomb said. You're buying your apartment. And that's that. Well, folks, it looks like it's only been 16 minutes. And I'm a little tired. I'm a cat, as you know. So I think that's going to be the end of my story today. I hope you had fun. I know I did. I had the zoomies. I hope you enjoyed my home. My owner pays for it. Yeah, he thinks it's his, but it's mine. We know the truth. Well, have a good evening. I'm going to hand it over to my owner. Good night. Well, folks, that was interesting. That was interesting indeed. A talking cat, what do you know? Just one of those things, one of those things, one of those things. Let's see if I can get this working. I can get that working. It's working. We are working. We are clear, and I'm not going to do that right now. Thank you very much. Thank you. And here we are back at SL tonight. That was Desmond telling the story of some really dark things, strange memories of death. Very weird story. Very strange story. Strange story indeed. Well, you know, while that story was very confusing, and it was told to us by a cat, about a cat man who hated Mondays, about some dark things, I suppose we can move on to the next story. That's always a good possibility, since we seem to have plenty of time. Let me put that out there. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. First up, we're gonna see if there's anybody available on. Yeah, there's people on. Yeah. Doesn't look like we've got anybody showing up today. In the meanwhile, looks like we've got the alien mind. Inert in the depths of his theta chamber, he heard the frank tone and then the syntho voice. 5 minutes. Okay, he said, struggled out of his deep sleep. He had 5 minutes to adjust the course of his ship. Something had gone wrong with the auto control system. An error on his part? Not likely. He never made errors. Jason Bedford made errors? Hardly. As he made his way unsteadily to the control module, he saw that Norman, who had been sent with him to amuse him, was also awake. The cat floated slowly in circles, batting at a pin that had somehow gotten loose. Strange, Bedford thought. I thought you were unconscious with me. He examined the readout of the ship's course. Impossible. A fifth parsec off in the direction of Cirrus. It would add a week to his journey. With grim precision, he reset the controls and sent out an alert signal to Mykonos Third, his destination. Troubles, the Mykonos operator answered. The voice was dry and cold, the calculating monotone of something that had always made Bedford think of snakes. He explained his situation. We need the medicine, Mykonos said. Try to stay on course. Norman, the cat, floated majestically by the control module, reached out a paw, and jabbed at random. Two activated buttons sounded faint bleeps, and the ship altered course. So you did it, Bedford said. You humiliated me in the eyes of an alien. You reduced me to idiocy vis-a-vis the alien mind. He grabbed the cat and squeezed. What was the strange sound? The Mykonos operator asked. A kind of lament. Bedford said quietly, There's nothing left to lament. Forget you heard it. Shut off the radio, carried the cat's body to the trash filter, and ejected it. A moment later, he returned to his stated chamber and once more dozed. This time, there would be no tampering with his controls. He dozed in peace. Now you know why I wanted to read this story myself. When his ship docked at Mykonos Third, the senior member of the alien medical team greeted him with an odd request. We would like to see your pet. I have no pet, Bedford said. Certainly it was true. Of According to the manifest filed with us in advance, it was really none of your business, Bedford said. You have your vaccine, I'll be taking off. Mykonos said, the safety of any life form is our business. We will inspect your ship. For a cat that doesn't exist, Bedford said. Their search proved futile. Impatiently, Bedford watched the alien creature scrutinize every storage locker and pass his way on his ship. Unfortunately, the Mykonos has found 10 sacks of dry cat kibble. A lengthy discussion ensued among them, in their own language. Do I have permission, Bedford said harshly, to return to Earth now? I'm on a tight schedule. What the aliens were thinking and saying was of no importance to him. He wished only to return to his silent theta chamber in profound sleep. You'll have to go through decontamination procedure A, the senior Greek-Nurse mechanical officer said. So that no spore or virus from. I realize that, Bedford said. Let's get it done. Later, when decontamination had been completed and he was back in the ship starting up the drive, his radio came on. It was one or another of the Mykonoses. To Bedford, they all looked alike. What was the cat's name? The Mykonos asked. Norman, Bedford said, and jabbed the ignition switch. The ship shot upward and he smiled. He did not smile, however, when he found the power supply to his theta chamber missing. Nor did he smile when the backup unit could also not be located. Did I forget to bring it? He asked himself. No, he decided. I wouldn't do that. They took it. 2 years before he reached Terra, 2 years of full consciousness on his part, deprived of theta sleep, 2 years of sitting or floating, or as he'd seen in military preparedness training holofilms, curled up in a corner, totally psychotic. He punched out a radio request to return to Mykonos 3. No response. Well, so much for that. Seated at his control module, he snapped on the little inboard computer and said, my theta chamber won't function. It's been sabotaged. What do you suggest I do for 2 years? There are emergency entertaining tapes. Right, he said. He would remember. Thank you. Pressing the proper button, he caused the door of the tape compartment to slide open. No tapes, only a cat toy, a miniature punching bag that had been included for Norman. He had never got around to giving it to him. Otherwise, bare shelves. The alien mind, Bedford thought, mysterious and cruel. Setting the ship's audio recorder going, he said calmly and with as much conviction as possible, what I will do is build my next 2 years around the daily routine. First, there are meals. I will spend as much time as possible planning, fixing, eating, and enjoying delicious repasts. Then, in the time ahead of me, I will try out every combination of victuals possible. Unsteadily, he rose and made his way to the massive food storage locker. As he stood, gazing in the tightly packed locker, tightly packed with row upon row of identical snacks, he thought, on the other hand, there's not much you can do with a 2 year supply of cat kibble. In the way of variety, are they all the same flavor? They were all the same flavor. And that's the end. And as that was also a short one, this next one is a little different. And it may run a little long. But uh, yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and draw that. Two stories seems long enough. Well, folks, those are two stories about cats, and one was interestingly dark, but not really that bad story. While the other story, well, obviously, a dude kills a cat. That's not cool. Uh, and then, well, basically gets forced to. I would say that at the very least, the guy gets his comeuppance. Yeah, especially since he's probably gonna go fucking crazy. Uh, no emergency tapes. Though it's kind of interesting on that one. Like, even if the cat did make the mistakes, where did the emergency tapes go? And instead, there's a cat toy. Like, did the aliens do that? But he said that he never gave it to him. So obviously, the toy. You know what? That guy deserved what he got. I hope he's eating cat food in hell. All right. So the next story is the exit door leads in, and that was I hope I shall arrive soon. This has been Felix Lebeski, and Desmond the Cat for SL tonight. And it's been a short one, but hopefully y'all have a great evening and have a